everybody, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about a lot of flooding that could be happening across a lot of the Gulf states, especially the coastal parts, but still some parts of Georgia especially. We could be seeing something happen across there too, some flooding. But we're going to be talking about some flooding that could be happening across parts of the Gulf Coast states, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I hope y'all do enjoy. If you do, consider leaving a like down below and subscribing, and let's go ahead and get into today's video. So you can see how we do have a lot of rain that could be impacting a lot of these areas across the Gulf Coast, and also some parts that do move into parts of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina across there. So you still can see we have a little bit of moisture that does come up. So we do have a frontal boundary somewhere along these lines that is keeping all the moisture across a lot of these areas. So anything that tries to get past it is going to be blocked, and the moisture can't get past it. So just for reference, an example, let's say this is a boundary. The boundary isn't where I'm putting it right now, but if we were going to have a lot of moisture coming up, pretty much what would happen is that moisture can't get past this black line right here. So anything beyond that black line, north of it, we really can't get anything. Not saying you won't get it, but if you're past it, you have a pretty low chance of getting moisture past it. So that's why a lot of this moisture is trapped in these specific areas across the Gulf. So if we have really warm Gulf waters. So if you think about it, we have really warm Gulf waters that produce a lot of rainfall, a lot of precipitation, and it's kind of trapped in some of these areas. You will expect a lot of flooding across those areas. So Louisiana coast, Mississippi, Alabama coast, also moving into parts of the panhandle of Florida, we can expect some flooding to start happening. You can see some areas we have about 3 to 5 inches, but some areas we get anywhere from 10 to 15 inches in some scattered areas where we get those thunderstorms to stay in the same spot. We would call those training thunderstorms a lot of times, to where, for example, you have a storm right here and then it goes away, but then you have another storm that comes over the same area, and then you have another storm that goes over the same area after that. That causes a lot of flooding issues. So if it's kind of like just a dome of an area that you just have a lot of thunderstorms coming through at the same spot, and that's usually when you see a lot of flooding, or just when it's just stationary and you really don't see it move much, which is what we could be seeing, or we could just be seeing too much moisture coming in and causing some flooding. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move on to the NAM model. So, as you can see, we do have a lot going on across the Gulf Coast, but also you can see we do have something near off the coast of North Carolina. So, in yesterday's video, I did cover this. You can see this is Invest 97L. It's not expected to become anything. We have like a 20% chance of anything developing. But it did cause some flash flooding across the coast of North Carolina last night and today. Today hasn't been as bad, of course, because it has been moving really, really fast. But parts of the southeast coast did get it, but not as bad as North Carolina, just because North Carolina is sticking out. See, parts of Florida it went through right here, but then once you get into North Carolina, it kind of cuts through, because North Carolina kind of sticks out and gets hit by a lot of systems that are not expected to hit, just because you're out there. Parts of North Carolina coast, you're out there, and you really can't. It's hard to dodge stuff. But you can see what we're going to be covering right now is across the Gulf Coast. You can see we do have a lot of these thunderstorms across a lot of the panhandle of Florida. We have a lot of these really heavy rains. Maybe, as I was talking about, southern Georgia, we do have some stuff building too. And then right here across parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, southern Arkansas, maybe even very eastern parts of Texas, we are seeing stuff going on right now too. So you can see as we get into tonight, we still have some storms and just consistent rain across parts of the panhandle of Florida, also into parts of Louisiana. We still have that going on. Then throughout tonight, we still do see something going on across parts of very southwestern parts of Georgia and parts of the panhandle. We still have storms happening. By tomorrow morning, we still have stuff going on, and parts of the Louisiana coast is starting to build, even the Mississippi coast. So you can see the pattern. It just stays in the same spots. And really by tomorrow, as we get around the noon time area, noon, I don't know how I would say that. The noon time area, that's my new expression, noon time area. Noon time frame, there we go. That was That was fun. Okay, so you can see across a lot of these areas of the Louisiana coast, Mississippi, and Alabama coast, also in the parts of the panhandle of Florida, you can see how we do have a lot of these heavy rains going on that are just in the same spot. And you can see how in some spots we have these really strong storms. This is where we could be seeing the heaviest of the rain, of course, and where the flooding could definitely happen. So wherever we get those heaviest bands to set up is where we will see all of our flooding. And that's what we're expecting to happen in some areas. Now, you can see across Mississippi, we still do have some rain going on there, too. Not as intense, not as bad, but you can see it still can be as bad certain parts of the day. Because if you get something to start setting up, it could just go over the same spots of Mississippi, when at the same time it could happen in Georgia. So it'll be all over the place. You can have a lot of stuff going on. But as we get into your Monday night, you can still see we still do have some storms across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama coast, and also parts of the western parts of the Florida Panhandle. Even southern Georgia, we're seeing something going on. And you can see how we do have this going on until Tuesday morning. You can see we still have something going on across here, the Gulf Coast. Also on Tuesday, we have some severe weather up here that you can see the very edge of. I will try to cover that soon about severe weather. I need to start covering severe weather more. But you can see we do have a lot of consistent rain. And this is when the main focus of the heaviest rains could move over to parts of Louisiana. Maybe in parts of the New Orleans area, we could see some problems, just a little different than parts of Florida having the worst part. But still, Florida, you will get some rains. But you can see how by your late Tuesday and Wednesday, the focus is a little bit more on Louisiana, and still some rains across the other coast of Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi, but not as bad. But you can see we do have a lot of moisture setting up across the southeast on your Wednesday, which was expected. I did do a video on how I was expecting a lot of flooding across the southeast, and definitely it has been a lot of it has been focused around the Gulf Coast lately. So that's what we're seeing over the next about, let's say, 3 to 4 days. So that's what we're seeing happening there. Now, as I move into windy.com, you can see same scenario happening right now. We do have some storms across a lot of these areas. If we move into your Monday tomorrow, by afternoon and late morning, you can see, let's go to the noon time frame. Okay, so you can see how we do have a lot of these systems across the Gulf Coast. So we have a lot of that going on, and it also does agree with the NAM model on where those specific storms will be. So if you live anywhere where I circled right here, near the Big Bend and very southern parts of Georgia, like very, very southern parts, like near the line of Florida and Georgia, I expect flooding there especially. But you can see right near Louisiana, the storms are right offshore, the worst of the rain. So we will have to see if those will move in earlier than expected. But right now we're expecting around the 5 p.m. Rush hour kind of time frame when everyone's coming home from work to get a lot of these storms across the southeast, just the southeast generally, you can see. But specifically in these areas, you can see we do have our heaviest of our rains along parts of where that frontal boundary is set up. Okay, so now we're going to move into, let's say, 5, 6 a.m. So this is when you actually do see where we're actually seeing our moisture instead of daytime heating. So at this time, it's going to be cool outside. So this is where we can actually have proof of it actually being just a lot of moisture from the Gulf and not specifically daytime heating. So you can see across coastal parts of Louisiana, we're seeing some rain, and also parts of near the Big Bend of Florida, near the Panhandle, and also southern Georgia, we're seeing some rain going on, still holding out. And then by 1 p.m., we still have a lot of rain across the Gulf parts. And then by your 5, let's go to 5 p.m., near rush hour, we do have a lot going on. Maybe even parts of central Georgia now, we're seeing some of that happening. All of Florida, you'll be in it, just because, it's Florida. But, and because of that frontal boundary, of course. But just usually because it's Florida and you have that flow of the ocean putting all that moisture in your area. All that moisture is just coming on shore. But you can see in these specific spots, you can see in these specific spots how once we get into your nighttime, there's still a little bit of moisture left. So, and also into your morning time, you can see how we do have that stuff going on into your early afternoon. So in a lot of these areas, I'm expecting to see a lot of moisture. Now by your Wednesday, we could see a lot of that once again focused across parts of Louisiana and Mississippi, as I was talking about with the NAM model. So you can see how it kind of shifts over a little bit. Now, as we move into your Thursday morning, it's in parts of Alabama now, but we still do have some moisture in the blue across a lot of the Gulf parts of the states. And you can see how that does go throughout Tuesday once again. Not as bad as it was in the early part of the week. But as we move into your Friday, it still does hold out with a lot of moisture across the Gulf states. And once we get into your Saturday, we are seeing something happening. Also, this area we've been talking about a lot. We still have a lot of uncertainty, but we could see some kind of tropical development happening in the Gulf that could hit Louisiana. We will have to see what goes on there. It's between Texas and Louisiana the past few days, but we will have to see. This has it weakening by the time it gets near. We will have to see what happens there. It's still pretty far out, but you can see the general area of where we could be seeing that rain happening still. So this actually, you can see by your Monday, somehow it just came out of nowhere. If you can see it, it's very consistent in the models. You can see by your Monday, it's not there on your Sunday, but on your Monday we just have some kind of tropical system just there. We saw it and then it came back, which is really weird, but you can see we do have the chance of some tropical system coming through, and it could definitely happen. It's not, how would I say this? It's not, I don't know the words. I don't have grammar today. I don't know what I'm doing. But let's just say it's not out of the question. That's what I was looking for. It's not out of the question of seeing anything going on there in with tropical development. So you can see throughout all of these around 10 days, we have a lot of moisture across parts of the Gulf Coast. Now, specifically parts of this early week, and really just in all of this week, we have a lot going on. And then into parts of next week, we could be seeing a lot of moisture across the Gulf, especially parts of Louisiana, maybe even Texas. We could see a tropical system coming through. So we do have a lot going on there. But if we go to your rain accumulation over the next 10 days, you can see what I was talking about, where that tropical system could come in. You can see how this has about 7 inches of rain set in place for New Orleans. Now, you have to remember, this is not just going to be from that system, but that could help in parts of those areas with a lot of rainfall. Across parts of Tallahassee and parts of the Big Bend, around 5 to 7, 8 inches. And you can see across this one area where we saw all those storms happening the first few days is where we'll see most of our rainfall in Florida. Now, the thing is, I think this is underestimating it a little bit. I think we will see more than 8 inches. I do think we could see up towards a foot, as the National Weather Service was saying in some of these areas. So we'll have to see. But if you live anywhere where I just circled, be very aware, because you could see a lot of flooding. So if you live anywhere in Valdosta, parts of Georgia, Tallahassee, Florida, be very aware, because we could be seeing a lot of stuff coming through your area, and we could see a lot of flooding going on there. Now, as we move into parts, of course, of the Louisiana coast, once again, we got to watch out. Maybe even the Mississippi coast. It's looking pretty bad there. So our two main areas of really bad moisture or flooding would be across parts of those areas, also into parts of these areas. So that's what we're expecting over the next week and actually just 10 days across there. So you can see, if we were to zoom out, you can see we're all in the United States where most of our rain will be. Now, if we were to go into the next 3 days, you can see a lot of our rainfall is focused around here, and we could have a lot of rainfall, just around 4 inches in just a few days. So it's not a good thing happening right now. So yeah, guys, I hope y'all did enjoy today's video. If you did, consider subscribing and leaving a like down below. And I hope y'all have a great day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great day once again.